In the vastness of space, humanity had always been seen as the younger sibling of the galactic community, primitive, unpredictable, and ultimately harmless. That's what the Galactic Empire believed, right until the moment Earth's orbital defense platforms lit up their sensors. Those gleaming silver monuments to human ingenuity weren't just for show, as the Empire would soon discover. They're nothing more than barely spacefaring primates. Admiral Vex had declared during the pre-invasion briefing, his scaled fingers dismissively waving away the intelligence reports. Reports that clearly showed Earth's rapid technological advancement over the past century. Reports that documented their mastery of quantum physics, their revolutionary breakthroughs in antimatter containment, and their mysterious energy signatures that defied imperial classification. I was there that day, a junior tactical officer fresh from the academy, watching the holographic displays as thousands of imperial warships prepared to enter Earth's solar system. The confidence in the war room was palpable, almost intoxicating. After all, we had conquered 37 systems in the past decade alone. Earth would be nothing more than a footnote in our glorious expansion. The first warning came from Dr. Senna, our xenoanthropologist. She had spent years studying Earth's transmissions, their entertainment broadcasts, their military communications, and most importantly, their history. They're different, she insisted, her antenna twitching with anxiety. Every other species we've encountered followed a predictable pattern of development. But humans, they compress centuries of advancement into decades. They thrive on adversity. The second warning came from our deep space listening posts. Earth's quantum communication network had gone silent. Not broken, not disrupted, silent. As if they had simply switched it off. The Empire's analysts dismissed it as primitive technology failing under stress. Dr. Senna knew better. She called it the calm before the storm. The third and final warning arrived just hours before the invasion was set to begin. A single transmission, broadcast on all frequencies in perfect imperial standard. This is your only notice. Earth's space is sovereign. Any unauthorized crossing of the Kuiper Belt will be considered an act of war. We are prepared to defend ourselves. Choose wisely. Admiral Vex laughed. The entire war room laughed. I didn't. Something in that message sent a chill through all four of my hearts. There was no fear in their words, no desperate pleading or diplomatic maneuvering. Just cold, hard fact. The invasion fleet jumped into the solar system precisely on schedule. Our sensors painted a picture of Earth's defenses, a scattered network of satellites and space stations, a few hundred warships that looked practically antiquated compared to our mighty armada. Admiral Vex ordered the first wave forward, confident in our shields and superior weaponry. That's when we learned why humans had turned off their quantum network. That's when we discovered what those mysterious energy signatures really meant. That's when we realized that everything we thought we knew about humanity's technological capabilities was wrong. I still see it in my nightmares, the way space itself seemed to bend and twist around Earth's orbital platforms. The impossible readings on our sensors as reality itself became their weapon. In all our centuries of space warfare, we had never encountered anything like it. We had never imagined that any species could harness such power. But I'm getting ahead of myself. To truly understand how the mighty Galactic Empire found itself facing its greatest challenge from a species it had gravely underestimated, we need to go back to where it all began. Back to the first time humans gave us a glimpse of their true potential, and how we, in our arrogance, chose to ignore it. It happened during what humans called the Mars Incident, 40 years before our invasion. Back then, we thought we were being subtle, sending automated probes to study their red planet outpost. We wanted to assess their colonization capabilities, their resource extraction methods, their ability to survive in hostile environments. What we didn't expect was for them to detect our probes at all, let alone what happened next. The humans not only spotted our surveillance devices, but managed to capture one intact. Within weeks, mere weeks, they had reverse-engineered several of our technologies that had taken us centuries to develop. Our quantum sensors, our gravity manipulation systems, our dark matter detection arrays. They absorbed it all with an almost frightening speed. It's not just their intelligence. Dr. Senna had tried to explain during one of her many presentations to the Imperial Science Council. It's their innovative thinking. They don't just understand technology, they improve it. They find connections and applications we never considered. The Council dismissed her concerns, of course. They saw only the humans' crude implementation of our technology, not the ingenious modifications they had already begun to make. The Mars incident should have been our first real warning. When we sent the larger probe to recover our lost technology, the humans were ready. They didn't just destroy it. They contained it in some kind of field that our sensors couldn't penetrate. A field that, according to all our scientific knowledge, shouldn't have been possible for them to create. I remember watching the classified footage from that day. The human response team moved with practiced efficiency, their environmental suits marked with patches I later learned represented different Earth nations working together. They approached our probe not with fear or awe, but with professional curiosity, like they'd been preparing for this moment all along. The most unnerving part was the message they sent afterward, not through conventional communications, but through a modified version of our own quantum network, one that somehow prevented us from tracing it back to its source. Thanks for the tech demo, it read. We've learned a lot. Next time, just knock on the front door. The arrogance of that message infuriated the Imperial Council. They saw it as proof of humanity's primitive nature, their lack of proper respect for their superiors. But a few of us noticed something else. The humans hadn't just cracked our quantum communications. They'd found a way to improve them in ways our best scientists hadn't even theorized possible. Over the next 4 decades, we watched as humanity expanded through their solar system. They'd established bases on their gas giants' moons, built massive orbital habitats, and developed their strange new technologies. From the outside, it all looked primitive compared to our own achievements. Their ships still relied on visible propulsion systems. Their stations required constant resupply. Their weapons seemed limited to basic kinetic and energy projectors. But there were anomalies. Unexplained energy spikes in the asteroid belt. Strange gravitational distortions around their outer system outposts. Occasional glimpses of vessels that appeared on our sensors for a fraction of a second before vanishing completely. Dr. Senna compiled it all, presented report after report warning that we were only seeing what the humans wanted us to see. They know we're watching, she insisted during that final briefing before the invasion. Everything they've shown us, every piece of technology they've developed, it's all been carefully crafted to tell a story. A story about a young, struggling species just beginning to reach for the stars. But the data doesn't add up. The energy readings, the quantum fluctuations, the gravitational anomalies, they're hiding something. Something big. If only we had listened. If only we had recognized that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology, it was their ability to make us underestimate them. The first wave of our invasion fleet consisted of 300 warships, each capable of reducing a continent to ash. As they crossed the orbit of Neptune, our sensors detected no response from Earth's defenses. The humans' scattered ships maintained their regular patrol patterns. Their orbital platforms continued their slow rotations. Everything appeared exactly as our intelligence had predicted. Admiral Vex stood at the command center's viewport, his ceremonial armor gleaming under the starlight. "Look at them," he said, mandibles clicking in amusement. "They don't even realize they should be afraid." Around him, the bridge crew shared knowing looks. This would be another glorious victory for the Empire, another primitive species brought under our enlightened rule. That's when Dr. Senna burst onto the bridge, her research tablet clutched in trembling hands. "The orbital platforms," she gasped. "We've been measuring them wrong. The energy readings we detected, they're not coming from the platforms themselves. They're coming from the space around them." Before anyone could respond to her warning, our forward sensors registered something impossible. The very fabric of space-time began to ripple around Earth's orbital defense network. At first, it looked like heat distortion, the kind you might see above a sun-baked road. But then the distortions began to spread, forming complex geometric patterns that our computers couldn't analyze. "Full stop," Dr. Senna screamed. "We have to stop now." But it was too late. The first wave had already committed to their attack vector. We watched in horror as the distortions intensified, creating what looked like tears in reality itself. Our mighty warships, pride of the Imperial fleet, suddenly seemed very small against the scale of what was unfolding. The humans' response came not as weapons fire or energy beams, but as a fundamental restructuring of the space our ships occupied. The first wave of our fleet found themselves caught in something. The closest description I can give is that space itself became like thick syrup around our ships, but even that doesn't capture the true strangeness of what we witnessed. Impossible, Admiral Vex whispered, his earlier confidence evaporating as we watched our advanced warships struggle against forces we couldn't even properly detect. No species at their level of development should be capable of this, but the humans weren't done showing us just how wrong our assessments had been. Their seemingly primitive ships began to move, but not with the clumsy chemical propulsion we'd observed before. They simply shifted as if they were sliding between layers of reality. The orbital platforms, which we had dismissed as basic defensive installations, started emitting energy signatures that made our sensors short out. In the chaos that followed, I made my way to Dr. Senna's station. "You knew," I said, "you knew they were hiding their true capabilities. How?" She looked up at me, her research tablet now displaying complex calculations I couldn't begin to understand. "Because they're human," she replied simply. "And if there's one thing humans excel at, it's preparing for a fight they know is coming." As alarms blared across the command ship and our fleet commanders shouted increasingly desperate orders, I realized we were about to learn exactly what humanity had been preparing for all these years. The true extent of Earth's power was about to be unleashed, and we had walked right into their trap. Just as our fleet struggled against the spatial distortions, a second, more terrifying revelation unfolded. The asteroid belt, which our intelligence had marked as a simple mining operation, suddenly came alive with energy signatures. We watched in disbelief as what we had thought were ordinary rocks began to move with purpose, revealing themselves as carefully disguised human installations. They'd weaponized their entire solar system. Dr. Senna breathed, her eyes fixed on the sensor displays. Everything we thought was primitive infrastructure, the mining operations, the research stations, even their cargo vessels, it was all part of an integrated defense system. The realization hit our command staff like a physical blow. We hadn't just underestimated Earth's orbital defenses. We'd failed to recognize that their entire solar system was one vast military installation. The human ships we dismissed as outdated suddenly shed their exterior hulls, revealing sleek vessels underneath that bore little resemblance to anything we'd seen before. Their movements defied our understanding of physics, shifting between positions faster than our tracking systems could follow. It wasn't teleportation. It was something else entirely, something that made a mockery of our supposed technological superiority. Admiral Vex, his earlier arrogance shattered, ordered our second wave to hold position beyond the gravity well of Neptune. But even that cautious move proved inadequate. The space around our fleet began to crystallize. There's no other word for it. Geometric patterns of pure energy formed around our ships, herding us into positions of the humans' choosing. "Sir," our sensor officer called out, his voice shaking, "we're detecting quantum signatures from Earth's direction. They're identical to the ones we use for our faster-than-light drives, but the power readings are off the scale." Dr. Senna rushed to the display, her antenna straightening in shock. "They didn't just reverse engineer our technology," she whispered. "They've been feeding us false data for decades, letting us think they were struggling to copy our basic systems while they developed something far more advanced." That's when we received another transmission, this time from what identified itself as Earth's Unified Defense Command. The message was simple but chilling. "Your invasion fleet is now contained. Any attempt to engage faster-than-light drives will result in immediate intervention. To demonstrate our capabilities and our restraint, we will now display a fraction of our defensive potential." What happened next defied explanation. A small section of space, roughly a cubic kilometer, simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not warped, but completely removed from our reality, leaving behind a perfect void that our sensors couldn't penetrate. The demonstration lasted exactly 5 seconds before the space returned to normal, but the message was clear. Earth could have done this to our entire fleet. In the stunned silence that followed, Dr. Senna's research tablet pinged with an incoming data packet. As she read it, her expression shifted from fear to something approaching awe. "They're offering to share their research," she said quietly. "All of it. They say they've been waiting for this moment, hoping the Empire would learn peaceful cooperation was preferable to conquest. But they've been preparing for the alternative since they first detected our probes all those years ago." Before Admiral Vex could respond, our tactical officer's voice cut through the command center. "Sir, multiple quantum signatures detected. Something massive is emerging from Earth's direction. The Empire's greatest military disaster was about to enter its final phase, and we could only watch as humanity revealed just how thoroughly they had outmaneuvered us." The massive quantum signatures our sensors detected weren't ships at all, at least not in any way we understood them. They were holes in reality itself, perfectly controlled gateways through which we glimpsed what appeared to be other dimensions. Through these portals emerged structures that defied our comprehension, crystalline networks of pure energy that moved with deliberate purpose. "It's beautiful," Dr. Senna whispered, watching as these energy constructs surrounded our fleet. "They've mastered dimensional engineering at a level we thought impossible. Those aren't weapons. They're bridges between realities." She was right. The humans weren't showing us weapons of war, but rather the ultimate expression of their scientific achievement. Admiral Vex, his proud posture now completely deflated, received a direct communication from Earth's Defense Command. The human commander's hologram appeared on our bridge, wearing what looked like a simple uniform devoid of any excessive decoration. "Admiral," the human said, "your fleet is now surrounded by dimensional anchor points. We could remove you from this reality entirely, but that's not our way. Instead, we offer you a choice." What happened next changed the course of galactic history forever. The human commander transmitted technical specifications that made our best scientists gasp in disbelief. They weren't just showing us their dimensional technology. They were revealing how our own faster-than-light drives could be modified to achieve similar results. It was simultaneously a peace offering and a warning. They could help us advance beyond our current limitations, or they could demonstrate how thoroughly they could disable our existing technology. "We've known about the Empire since you first entered our solar system generations ago," the human commander continued. "While you watched us, thinking we were struggling to catch up, we were actually advancing in directions your science hadn't even theorized. We chose peace today by containing your fleet rather than destroying it. We hope you'll choose peace as well." As if to emphasize their point, one of the dimensional gateways expanded, showing us a glimpse of what appeared to be another Earth in a parallel dimension. A Earth with technology even more advanced than what they had already demonstrated. "We're not alone," the commander explained. "We've been in contact with our alternate selves across multiple realities, sharing knowledge, preparing for this moment." That's when Dr. Senna made a startling realization. "The Mars incident," she exclaimed. "When we thought they were reverse engineering our probe, they were actually using it to understand how our technology could be improved using principles we hadn't discovered." The human commander nodded, a slight smile crossing their face. Admiral Vex, showing wisdom I hadn't thought him capable of, stood up straight and made the decision that would reshape our empire. "We accept your offer of peace," he declared. "The Empire recognizes Earth's sovereignty," and he paused, swallowing his pride, "requests the honor of learning from humanity's achievements." The dimensional constructs around our fleet began to dim, but they didn't disappear entirely. As they retracted, they left behind a network of quantum beacons, navigation markers for what would become the first joint human-imperial technological exchange program. But even as peace was declared, I noticed something in the human commander's expression that suggested we still didn't know everything. Years later, I would learn the truth. What we had witnessed wasn't even the full extent of humanity's capabilities. The dimensional gateways, the space-time manipulation, even their quantum technology, it was all just the beginning. They had shown us enough to prove their power, but kept their most advanced developments hidden, ensuring they would always maintain an edge if the Empire ever reconsidered its peaceful intentions. In the end, humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology at all. It was their ability to make their potential enemies into allies, all while keeping their true strength and reserve. The Galactic Empire had arrived expecting to find a primitive civilization waiting to be conquered. Instead, we found teachers who would guide us toward a future we hadn't imagined possible. 20 years have passed since that fateful day when the Empire's invasion fleet faced humanity's true power. I've spent those years working alongside humans as part of the Joint Technological Exchange Program, and I'm still amazed by their capacity to innovate. Every time we think we understand the extent of their capabilities, they reveal new layers of advancement that leave our scientists speechless. The decision to pursue peace rather than conquest turned out to be the Empire's wisest choice in millennia. Human dimensional engineering revolutionized our space travel, their quantum manipulation techniques transformed our energy production, and their unique approach to problem solving sparked a renaissance in imperial science. But more than the technology, it was their perspective that changed us the most. Dr. Senna, now the head of the Imperial Academy of Sciences, often says that humanity's greatest gift to us was teaching us to question our assumptions. They showed us that true power isn't about domination. She told me recently, it's about the wisdom to know when not to use it. The humans could have destroyed our fleet that day, but they chose to offer friendship instead. The integration of human and imperial technology created wonders neither civilization could have achieved alone. The dimensional highways now connecting distant parts of the galaxy weren't built by humans or the Empire. They were created through true collaboration, combining human innovation with imperial scale and resources. Our civilizations grew stronger together than they ever could have been apart. But perhaps the most profound change came in how the Empire itself evolved. The humans' approach to governance, their emphasis on cooperation over conquest, gradually influenced imperial policy. Other species that we once would have tried to subjugate became partners in an expanding network of allied civilizations. The Empire learned that true strength comes not from forcing others to submit, but from working together toward common goals. As for Earth itself, it remains something of an enigma. Though they openly share much of their knowledge, there are still research facilities in their solar system that no imperial citizen has ever visited. Sometimes, our sensors detect energy signatures that defy our understanding, suggesting they continue to develop technologies beyond our comprehension. But now, this creates excitement rather than fear, anticipation of what new marvels humanity might choose to share when the time is right. I often think back to those moments on the bridge when we first witnessed Earth's true power. We thought we were bringing advanced civilization to a primitive world, but in reality, we were the ones who needed to advance. Humanity had long ago moved past the need for military conquest, developing instead the power to reshape reality itself. They could have dominated the galaxy, but they chose to guide it toward something better. Today, young imperial officers study the invasion that never was as a lesson in humility and wisdom. They learn that the most dangerous assumption in the galaxy is believing you're superior to others. Humanity taught us that true civilization isn't measured by the power to destroy, but by the choice to create instead. Looking out my window at the dimensional gateway connecting Earth to the imperial capital, watching ships from 100 worlds pass freely between them, I can't help but wonder what humanity will show us next. They still haven't revealed everything they're capable of. Dr. Senna's instruments occasionally pick up readings that make her antenna twitch with excitement, but that's okay. Some mysteries are better left as motivation to keep learning, to keep growing, to keep reaching for the stars not as conquerors, but as explorers. After all, that's the most important lesson humanity taught the Empire. The universe isn't a territory to be conquered, but a frontier to be explored together. And sometimes, the greatest power lies not in the strength you show, but in the wisdom to know when to offer peace instead of war.